Jacob Miles. I'm a 10-year Army National Guard veteran, and I come from a family with more than 50 years of military service between the Army and the Navy. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the events from 81 years ago and how they relate to the things that we're seeing today. As you know, D-Day, June 6, 1944, was one of the most significant days in our world's history and the history of mankind. Roughly 73,000 Americans took part in the invasion from the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, those that parachuted into France, those that landed on the beaches. Many of them came from families like all of us, those of us that grew up struggling to make ends meet, those of us that grew up in military households. And not a single one of them complained about bone spurs to avoid having to do their military service like our current president did to avoid the draft. That draft dodger we now have to call president is a national and global security threat. He has given us the most incompetent and unqualified cabinet and department heads we have ever seen as a country. He has just chosen a 22-year-old, 1 year out of college, with no national security experience to be in charge of our terrorism prevention part of the Department of Homeland Security. We have a Secretary of Defense who thinks that it's more important to worry about the words we say or the words written down in documents or renaming Navy ships than actually caring and providing services for our service members, veterans, and their families. And we have a Department of Health and Human Services director who literally had part of his brain eaten by a worm. That is what we are dealing with on a national level. And Donald Trump can't even keep his own sycophants and closest allies in line, like Elon Musk, who now the girls are fighting on Twitter. But if he can't keep his closest allies in line and supporting him, how can we trust him to keep our global alliances intact? Donald Trump has aligned himself with ruthless dictators and genocidal maniacs while simultaneously harming and eroding our closest alliances. On D-Day, 73,000 Americans took part, but around 90,000 of our allies from the United Kingdom and Canada and the other UK Commonwealths took part in that invasion. If there was a D-Day right now, we would not have 90,000 of our allies standing with us because Donald Trump has ruined those relationships and put us all at risk. Thank you. And we talk a lot about D-Day, but I want to talk about a couple of other events that happened right around this time 81 years ago. We had dozens of Montanans that took part in the invasion of Normandy. Just 2 days before, on June 4th, the Devil's Brigade, which trained just down the road at Fort William Henry Harrison, captured the city of Rome from the Italians and made the first Axis capital fall. And just a couple of days before that, in the last few days of May, the Montana Army National Guard soldiers that fought in World War II had completed Project Straight Line and captured the island of Wakta in the South Pacific. So Montana service members fought at every level of that war on both theaters and served valiantly. But now all of the work that they did to stop fascism, to protect the innocent, to stand up to bullies, and to create a better future is at risk because of one man. We need to stand up now. It's our turn to fight, to protect the innocent, to help each other, to stand arm in arm, to help our veterans, to help our neighbors, to help our fellow Montanans, and to stand up to fascism once more. We need to stop allowing other people to be walked over. There's a quote about those that, suffered or those that were ignorant to the suffering in Germany. First they came for the Jews and I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the gypsies and I said nothing because I wasn't a gypsy. Then they came for me and there was no one to say anything else to protect me. We cannot allow that to happen. We have to protect each other. We have to stand up and use our solidarity. There are more of us than there are of them. And in strength in numbers, we can protect ourselves and our democracy and the American way of life.